Hello, this is Wendy the Concierge, wendytheconcierge at gmail.com, and welcome back to my channel and my information for you about prison re-entry and incarceration issues in general. Very nice to see you today. I hope that you are all well. I've been absent for a little bit, mostly because I wanted to tell you guys about some stuff, and I had a whole list of topics that I wanted to tell you about, the tech industry and how they've been really good about reentry issues and that sort of thing. And I wanted to also talk about gender issues in prison. I've already done some information about that, but I wanted to talk about some other stuff regarding that. I might do one on that later, tonight or this weekend sometime. But the reality is I just had all of these issues come up, not about me personally. My life is pretty awesome out here and I haven't had any problems, but I am the go-to girl for when the shit hits the fan, and so a bunch of different stuff has come at me. And I just haven't had time to pop back in here and to get my mind off of it. Some pretty crappy things, honestly, have happened to a lot of the people that are out here, just trying to put their lives back together. So I thought that, you know what? I think that maybe I'm just going to, sit down and tell my people what's going on. And maybe, that'll be our episode for today. So that's why today's episode of Wendy the Concierge is called Problems, because we got problems. Okay. I don't even know where to begin with some of the crap that I run into each day. Now remember that all the stories that I tell you, I don't tell you shit that I just made up or heard from a friend of a friend. Every single thing that I tell you is something that I've actually been consulted on to help to deal with, that people have come to me and said, yo, do you have any ideas on how we can help this person or whatever? And I'm like, you got me. I got no fucking clue with some of the ones that we've had lately. So I'm going to start with some of the ones that I've been experiencing, just to let you know what's actually going on out here and what people are dealing with. Because when I say that it's tough times and that, these halfway houses, the BOP, the supervising bodies, they are not playing. So I'm just letting you know what y'all are in for if some of you are about to come out, if you just got out, or if you've got loved ones that are going to be coming home soon, all right? All right, here we go. Okay. So the first one, we've got a 71-year-old lady who she gets out on the CARES Act, and she's got about, half of her time done on a 6-year sentence. And she's kind of one of those shit stir firecrackers, the one that's always filing this, that complaint and the other inside, and this, that, and the other administrative remedy and every grievance under the sun, that inmate, the thorn in the side, right? And she's not exactly wrong, okay, with the things that she's complaining about, but sometimes when you are the paper problem, you can get a reputation where they come back at you and they retaliate, and retaliation is real. It's often overplayed, honestly. They're not going to retaliate on you just because you filed a single complaint. Especially the way you conduct yourself about it. If you're yelling and screaming in the hall about it and acting, like you're Rosa Parks or something because your food was served at the wrong time, you're not going to win any favors. But if you say, okay, I'm just going to file this grievance, I want to discuss our issue here, that gets you a lot farther. Okay? So that's how she was inside. Well, she wasn't any different outside either. She got out, and the BOP doctors told her that she couldn't wear an ankle monitor because she had really severe sensitive skin issues, and they said that plastic is just going to tear it up, and they were concerned about the electronic waves fucking with her pacemaker or something like that. I don't know. For whatever reason, The BOP's doctor that they sent her to said, no, you can't be wearing that. Mm-mm. Now, the CARES Act specifically says that lack of an ankle monitor isn't supposed to keep people inside, because the Congress people aren't stupid. They knew that the first thing the BOP was going to say was, yeah, no, we don't have enough ankle monitors, sorry. And Congress cut that off at the knees. They said, nope, that's not an excuse. You still got to let them out. So technically it wasn't a problem, but the halfway house wasn't really happy about it. They went back and forth about it. They said, you've got to wear the ankle monitor. She said, no, your doctor said I don't. The halfway house said, no, if you don't wear an ankle monitor, then you have to be a resident at the halfway house. She said, okay, I'll go live at the halfway house. They said, are you crazy? You can't come live at the halfway house. You've got more than a year left on your sentence. So you have to stay at your house and you have to wear an ankle monitor. She said, no. Your doctor said, no. And she wasn't doing anything that she wasn't supposed to be doing. It's just she was fighting them about the ankle monitor. Now me, I would put on the ankle monitor and I'd let that son of a bitch chew my leg up, and then I'd be like, sure, you're sure you want me to wear this ankle monitor? Are you sure about that? Because that's just how I play. But she wasn't having it. She didn't put it on, and that's how she chose to play it. Okay. Well, at the same time, she was filing one of the 2255 things where basically you say your lawyer sucks and you want, new trial over it, right? Okay. So, normally, you file this and, you're just like, well, I think my lawyer was incompetent. No. This lady, she was telling everybody that he was purposefully screwing her over and that he was, not just incompetent, but aggressively neglectful and, actively working against her is basically what she was accusing him. She was going way beyond accusing him of incompetence. She was going straight into malpractice is what she was accusing him of. Now, here's the thing. When those lawyers are in court, and I'm telling you this as the former wife of a lawyer here, okay? Once upon a time before I blew my life up, my husband was a lawyer. And, not the current husband, previous one. Follow along now. So those lawyers, they're opposing counsel in court. It's like two guys playing chess. They go out afterwards and they have beer. They golf together on the weekend, okay? They are much more interested in backing each other up than you, okay? So this is what happens in a situation like that. And I'm not saying that's exactly what happened here, but this is how these kind of things go down, okay? The public defender talks to the prosecutor and says, oh, yeah, this bitch, she's sitting there running her mouth about me all over town, saying this, that, and the other, malpractice. Can you believe that shit? She's a crazy old bat. Prosecutor says, oh, watch this. I got you. And has her remanded. Yep. They were doing a deposition at her house because it was COVID. Okay, so the offices were all closed. So they were doing the deposition at her house. And supposedly, it's hard to tell because, you can't really talk to people. But there was something about how she was in the kitchen and her witness was in the living room. And they were, recording what he was saying or whatever. And she was coaching him, telling him what to say. And, she was probably saying, now remember to tell him about this and that or the other. You can't do that. You can't be saying shit. She should have just left the house and gone. So they charged her with perjury. I'm not sure how that's perjury, but I'm not a lawyer. I realize it sounds more like witness tampering, but I don't know. I guess they were saying she was lying about her evidence, some shit. I don't know. They charged her with perjury, 3 counts, saying that they want her to serve 5 years each. They're trying to talk plea bargains now. Yeah. And then on top of it, that's a pretty petty white-collar crime. You're usually out on pretrial for that. You don't usually sit and wait in jail prior to your sentencing for a freaking perjury charge. Well, this time they did. Yeah, the prosecutor went further and said, oh, yeah, and by the way, the town police officers have seen her walking all over, and she's supposed to be on home confinement, so we're remanding her because, she's escaping. Hello? How are you calling it escape when this woman is always exactly where she's supposed to be? Well, because she wasn't wearing her fucking ankle monitor, yeah. And, she can probably get out of that and stuff, but in the meantime, she's got to sit her ass in a county jail right now that's full of COVID. So, yes, it's your right to file an incompetent counsel motion. It's your right to do a deposition. It's your right to even talk shit about your lawyer. And they will come for you. So watch your mouth. That's the lesson you take out of that. It's like the whole thing about going to trial. Everybody says, oh, well, I have a right to go to trial. That's right. You do. And the government doesn't care. And they will give you the trial tax, and they will find you guilty. Something like 98% of us are found guilty. And that's why I always say it again. I'm not a lawyer. Talk to your lawyer about this. But this is why lawyers say it too. Even if you didn't do exactly what they say you did, plead guilty anyway. Because they're going to call you guilty, and they're going to sentence you to probably about 3 to 5 times what they would have given you if you would have pleaded out. It sucks. It's what it is. Simple as that. So no, don't go stirring up trouble when you're at home, on home confinement. Don't. Sit down, shut up, sit on your porch, sip your lemonade, and enjoy the fact that you look at the sky. Yeah, it shouldn't be like that, but that's how it is. So just deal with it. You're not going to be the hero. You're not going to change anything. Nothing's going to be different. And that's a really shitty thing to realize, but it's truth. The only thing that you can change is you. And make sure that you and your family members don't suffer under it anymore, because you do have that power. Shut up and follow the rules. I remember when my son was starting kindergarten, and he was having a lot of problems in school. And I was like, why are you having so many problems in school? You're a good kid. Like, why are you causing problems? What is this? And he said, oh, Mommy, there's just too many rules. I can't remember them all. I said, they all boil down to one thing. Shut up. Listen to teacher. Don't hit people. Seriously, every single rule in school boils down to that, right? Guess what? When you're involved with the criminal justice system, same thing. Don't hit people. Listen to your PO, CO, lawyer, whoever your supervising person is. Shut up. Don't hit people. That's it. That's all. It's that simple. Okay. So that was the first problematic problem that got thrown at me. And that was really devastating to me, because this woman, she was somebody who would do anything to help anybody. She's an elderly lady. She needs fucking open heart surgery, and she's sitting in a county jail, which is shitty for anybody who's 71 years old to begin with. But now she's sitting there during COVID too. And the whole freaking reason that she was let out and on home confinement is because she's got all these myriad health problems. She's a cancer survivor. Like I just said, she needs open heart surgery. She's diabetic. Like, the fuck? Like, send this lady home. Like, stop hassling her. But no, we got her home, and what you have to do, keep running her mouth. It's like you love people to death, but like you're like, honey, you're not helping me help you here. That's frustrating. Okay? So there was that problem. Broke my heart. Okay. So then the next one came along. This fool decided that since she had just had an emergency surgery to get her gallbladder out, and I'm fudging a little bit of details on this because I don't want to give away too much information, So this fool got her gallbladder taken out. She was given painkillers for afterwards. It was all okay with her doctor, her halfway house and all that. She had the record of the prescription and stuff. This fool thought that she could smoke some marijuana. Since she was going to pop hot anyway, she thought she could just say like, oh, well, like I'm on these painkillers. That's why I'm popping hot. Okay, they those of you who are watching at home, can you hear my frustration? All right? Because, like, the test, like, yes, it's going to pop hot for the painkillers. It's going to say, like, oh, yeah, and they took some opiates. There's also a line specifically for weed. Okay? It's going to see that you did both. You know, and she had like a couple of pups, you know, who gives a shit? Like, who gives a shit about weed anyway, alright? Yes, true. But guess what? It's still illegal federally. And you know who gives a shit about weed? Your probation officer and the halfway house and the federal government. They love to fuck you with the weed, okay? They send you back instantly. They don't give a fuck. Not one bit. Now, here's the thing. If you've got less than a year left on your sentence, you might be real lucky, and the halfway house might just say, you know what? We're going to write you up. We're not going to let you out early, and we're going to remand you to the halfway house because, you know, you're on home confinement. So we're going to make you come and spend a couple weeks in the halfway house. Yeah. Maybe like a month or two. I know some people who had to spend like 3 extra months in the halfway house for doing dumb shit like that. This bitch, okay, had almost 2 years left on her sentence. So she's sitting in a federal holding facility right now for smoking weed once. She was home all of 4 months. After whining, crying, fighting, and praying. Okay. To get released. She was home for 4 fucking months. And smoked a joint. And got sent back. Like, that's not even addiction at that point. That's like one joint. Okay, that's not addiction. That's stupid is what that is. Okay? And I couldn't even get mad at her, alright? Because she's like, I knew better. I'm so disappointed in myself. And I'm like, girl, you're disappointed. Think about your kids. Damn. She felt miserable, and like she just looked like a dog with her head between her legs, you know. And so I wasn't gonna trash her. I was just like, whatever. All right, you know. And you call around and you find out that now there's pretty much standing policies that any violation, if you're out on cares, they're going to send you right back. It's pretty draconian, considering that usually, especially what the case I'm about to tell you next, a lot of these cases are just handled by like taking away your social passes for a couple weeks, something like that. Yeah, not this time. Alright. So then somebody comes at me and says, I don't know what to do. My son just called me and says that he's been put in the shoe. And I'm like, why was he put in the shoe? She says, well, they said that he was bringing drugs into the facility by mail. You know, like you have somebody send in, and this is about where what you do is like, I don't even know how to do it, which is funny considering I used to make drugs, but I actually don't know how to do it, but I know that theoretically that what you do somehow is you mix the drugs in some sort of like liquid solution and you like dump it, like the paper into it, and it dries, and then like, you know, you tear off little pieces and chew it, and supposedly that's how you get high. Okay. So that's why, like, for example, they don't like give greeting cards to inmates anymore, and that's why a lot of times they don't allow you to use colored paper and stuff when you mail stuff in to people who are inside. Yeah. So she's like, I don't even know how that would be a thing. The only people who send him any mail are me and my daughter, and so, you know, clearly we're not sending him any drugs, so this is all a lie. Now I have to admit, my first reaction was, that's what he tells you. Because, you know, that's what we all say, right? You know, oh, it wasn't me. Yeah, no, most of the time, it was. But, you know, I'm not going to tell somebody's mama that. You know, like, no, I'm not going to say them like, oh, yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, that's difficult. I'm like, well, you know, usually they send out the test to get lab results, you know. Because, you know, they do. But she was just so mad. She's like, no, he told me that he had nothing to do with this, and I want to get a lawyer and stuff. Sit down, Thelma, okay? Because that's not happening. No. All right. Okay, first of all, if you're on the phone or you're getting like emails from prison from your kid and they say, I didn't do it. Okay, for maybe they didn't. Maybe. But even if they did, they're not going to tell you because the staff read those and listen in. There's no privacy expectation. So they can't tell you. They can't say, like, yeah, Mom, I did it. Because they're trying to beat a shot here. And, like, importation of drugs or a cell phone shot, like, that's a very serious shot. That's going to get your security points up and you're going to get sent to a higher security level facility. So you're going to try to beat that, obviously. So they're absolutely not. They're not going to tell you on the phone if they did it. Not while the shot is still outstanding and they're still fighting it anyway. Okay? So here's the thing. The tests that they use, like the piss tests that they use in prison, those are like the same ones that they use like at your probation office or at the halfway house or whatever. You know, the initial reading, like there is margin of error and there are certain things that cause false positives, and that's why they're supposed to send them out for confirmation. But they're not that off, okay? There is, though, room for error. But the ones that test materials, okay, like, you know, paper, okay, those are notoriously off. Just terrible. There was a football player, I think in Georgia, who the bird shit on his car popped hot for being cocaine. Okay? There was a woman in Florida who was held for 3 months because officers found some blue, like, pebbly shit in her car. And she insisted it was cotton candy. The road test said that it was meth. They sent it to a lab. It was cotton candy. It wasn't meth. So she's in there for 3 months. She loses her apartment, her job, custody has problems. You know, like, because these tests are utter complete shit. Like, they shouldn't even be allowed to be sold. I don't even know why they mess with them. So, yeah, all it takes is a CO in a mailroom one day to look at a book and say, oh, this paper looks a little bit funny, and test it, comes up positive. And guess what? The Supreme Court has ruled that you have no expectation to have any sort of due process in there. Because it's not a law that they're breaking in there. Okay? When you're just charging them with, like, a shot, that's a regulation that you're breaking. You know, a rule. Okay? It's not a law. They're not giving you a criminal charge. They're giving you a conduct infraction. Okay? So no, you don't actually have any expectation of due process. What people have tried to do is sue over these tests and say that the BOP should not be allowed to use them anymore because they suck so bad and they end up causing people to sit and shoe for months on end for no damn reason a lot of times. Unfortunately, every time somebody brings a lawsuit like this and starts working it up to chain to where they can get somewhere, invariably the person gets released and then the lawsuit gets dismissed as moot. So, yeah, for now they're going to be using shitty tests, and that's how it's going to go. Luckily for this person, it was sent out to a lab, and it came back, there was nothing wrong with it. The guy was let out of SHU after a couple of weeks when it all got resolved, and it was fine. Okay? That's not always how it goes. Okay? They can decide to just hold the shot and not take it back. They can get the results back from the lab and just say, oh, that's nice. Who gives a fuck? And put it in your file. And continue to, you know, charge you with this on the rule-breaking thing. Take away your good time. Take away your halfway house time. Take away your privileges. Boost up your security points. All because these tests are utter complete gobshite. Alright? There's no way you can really protect yourself other than not to get mail. There was an incident at Danbury where a guy got some mail that came in. They tested it. They sent it out to a lab, and it was dirty. It certainly was. But the thing was, his defense was, I have no idea who the fuck sent me this. I really don't. I don't know if he was telling the truth or not. But that was his defense. And his, you get to have a staff advocate on your behalf, okay? So his defense was that, he had no idea who mailed this to him and that somebody was just trying to get him in trouble. And the staff advocate says, you can't punish him for this. You've got no evidence that he ordered this. This is utter complete crap. Like, if you charge him with this and declare him guilty, this is just open season now. If you want to fuck with an inmate, just send them some dope on a fucking letter and get them in trouble. The DHO, the disciplinary hearing officer, like the committee that listens to these little mini trials, whatever, these hearings, they agreed with the staff reps' reasoning on that, and so they said, no, dismiss the shot, put the guy out. So Danbury banned the staff rep, from ever representing anyone again. Yeah, that's how that works. Okay? Like I said, you're not going to be the hero. You're not going to change anything. Nothing will change. Everything will stay the same. Most you can do is protect you. Okay? So that's that one. Okay. Then, somebody calls me up and says, have you heard about this bullshit out of Texas? This bullshit always comes from Texas, And I knew that Texas was really riding hard on a lot of the people down there. I know that, people from the halfway houses down there have been warned that, if you're not looking for a job within 3 weeks, they will just send you straight back to prison, that sort of thing, Even though you may not be in a position to look for work, even though you may not need to. Maybe you just want to stay home and be a homemaker with your family. Maybe you want to catch up. Maybe you don't have skills to get a fucking job right now. Whatever. All right. So, there was this woman. She's released after doing 11 years on a 15-year sentence. So she was within a year of her out date anyway. She gets home, she's doing good, she rebonds with her family and all that, she gets herself a job, she's behaving herself, she's doing everything right. Now, do you remember me telling you about how when you're with the halfway house, when you leave your house, you have to call and say, I'm leaving my house. I'm at my destination. I'm leaving my destination. I'm back at my house. Remember me telling you that? Okay. So, when you're at work, hi halfway house, I'm going to work now. I'm at work now. I'm going home now. Guess what else you have to do? Let's say that you work at a job where you're on a construction crew and you go from site to site to site. Okay? So, hi halfway house, I'm at work. Hi halfway house, I'm leaving the office now and going to the Apple Street site. I'm leaving the Apple Street site and I'm going to the Berry site. I'm leaving the Berry site and going to the coffee site. I'm leaving the coffee site and going to the dog site. I'm leaving the dog site and going to the office. Go to the office, clock out. I'm leaving the office and going back to the house. I'm back at my house. Okay. Now, first of all, when I tried that shit with my probation officers who were supervising me because I'm on a relo and in a weird situation, they were like, what are you doing? Do not message us. We already have you down in the schedule. Just message us if you're going off, your routine. If you're doing something other than what your schedule already says. They basically acted like I was spamming them. Okay? So, yeah. So, the halfway houses are being extra as fuck about this. Alright? Alright. So, here in the Northeast, I know somebody who went to her religious service. Okay? Went to the religious service, I'm leaving my house, going to the religious service. I'm in church. Pray, 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 pray. I'm leaving church now. I'm home now. Except when she got home, she opened the door and her dog had gone outside and gotten all muddy through the dog door and then was in the house, was full of mud. Her house was mud everywhere, so she grabbed the dog, went outside, was hosing him off. She was like, oh my God, my house is covered in mud. What the fuck? She's freaking out. Suddenly, her phone is ringing. It's inside, so she doesn't hear it. So she comes in after she gets the dog hosed off and she started to clean up. She hears the phone ring. She picks it up. She's been home about 20 minutes now and she hasn't called. She got a shot for that. Yeah. Even though she was home the whole time. She's wearing a fucking ankle monitor and they can see damn well right on the computer that she's home. But she got a shot for that. And I'm like, why are we wearing the ankle monitors then? Because either you can see us on the computer and know that we're there, or take the fucking thing off and just let me call you so that I can go swimming and take a bath. Because you can't take a bath with these things on and go swimming. You can get them wet, but you can't immerse them. Okay? To me, having both, especially the phone call nonsense, it's creating a way to try to trip people up. There's no reason that you need to call and say, I'm going, I'm here, I'm leaving, I'm back home now, when you've got the fucking ankle monitor on. It's ridiculous. It's nothing other than a trap and justification of employment. And usually I'm not that fierce about it, but it is. It's an utter crap system, and they're just setting these people up to fail. Okay? I actually many times have considered moving to New York, because in New York they have better protections for felons when it comes to employment, and also I can vote there. But I don't want to fuck with the halfway houses. I'm not giving up my probation officers for the world. Nutmegger for life. I ain't going nowhere. Alright, so this woman in Texas, though, they took it a step further. Okay? So she's at her job, and she calls every time. She's got the phone records to prove it. Okay? But when you call in, the halfway house doesn't just say, okay, cool, and hang up, and go back to buffing their nails. They're supposed to write this shit down in a log. Okay? So when they were going over the log, they didn't see where she called between, the berry site and the coffee site. Well, guess what? South Central Texas has a standing policy that the halfway houses don't write them up. Any infraction, the people on home confinement are automatically remanded. Period. End of sentence. Done. That's it. No looking back. The woman in question is 6 months pregnant. And she's being brought in despite the fact that she's got records proving that she did the calls exactly as she was supposed to. You know what? They do not give a fuck. They don't. It's of no relevance to them whatsoever whether you are home, whether you receive due process, whether they are justified, whether they are right or not. If they can find a reason to drag your ass in, they absolutely will. So those of you that are serviced by the RRM San Antonio, okay? Those of you in that South Central Texas region, people, you do not have room for even a hair of an infraction. Nothing. Because the halfway house will not take care of it. They will not write you up. There will not just be a talking to. You will be remanded for even the tiniest little shit. Even if you are pregnant, and even if the holding facility they bring you to is full of COVID. Because they can. And they do not give a fuck. So there was that. Here's some more. So one of the people I work with calls me and says, hey, my halfway house just told me I can't go on walks anymore. I thought we were allowed to have rec. We are. Mm-hmm. I said, get a note from your doctor. I even had to get a note from my doctors, to just say, it's, just a accountability covering. I said, tell them, you can download an app that tracks you, something like Strava. And, that way they can see exactly where you are in your walk and stuff. And this halfway house also has a policy that if you live with people, you don't need to be going out grocery shopping. No, you don't need to be going out and, shopping for clothing or anything like that. The only reason you're going out if you live with people is for a doctor's appointment, or like to go to the actual halfway house or to work. Because they say other people in your house can do all that. You don't need to be doing it. So this poor woman has been out of the house in a damn month. Okay? And it's ridiculous. Even when you're in the shoe in prison, you get rec time. They don't care. I put her in touch with another woman who went through that same halfway house. And that woman explained to her that they tried the exact same bullshit on her. And so she had to file a grievance. And then when she filed the grievance, they were basically like, oh, okay, I guess we have to let you have rec time. But yeah, that's the kind of crap that we have to deal with. We're not done yet. Okay? I told you it was problems issue. Alright? So that's the kind of petty ass bullshit that people have to deal with. But again, we are not done yet. Okay? So that's going on. And then in the meanwhile, I've got somebody who calls me and says, the guy I'm staying with says I have to pack up all of my shit and he's taking me to the halfway house today and that he will not allow me to live with him anymore. And I'm like, girl, what did you do to piss him off? And did you just call me victim blaming there? You go ahead and call me victim blaming, but the problem is there's nobody else you can control in the situation besides you. Right, okay? So what happened in this situation was this girl got out, she was staying with this guy, and he said that she could stay there, with him till she got on her feet. And they weren't really getting along because he was kind of having more expectations of a relationship, and she just didn't have that kind of feeling for him. He was becoming more aggressive. He was outright, kind of sexually harassing her, basically, really hitting on her. And these are not people who had a relationship with each other. These were just people who knew each other, all right? So she goes and files a relocation request to go and live with the guy, a different guy. And, right there, I'm like, I don't know why you're asking go live with some guy. Go live in a fucking sober living house. Go live with, some woman, somebody. Why do you have all these fucking guys around? Ladies, when you're under supervision, the police don't like it when you're socializing with a lot of men. They just don't. I'm just warning you in advance. And I'm not saying it's right. And you can call it slut shaming all you want. It's also real. I don't tell you how it should be. I tell you how it is. That's all. So she puts in a relocation request. And you will remember from a previous episode that I said that basically they aren't approving relo requests. And another friend of mine, had it done. And the lease was ending and her shit was actually getting put in the moving van. And she calls the halfway house. She's like, when are you going to fucking approve this? I have to get out now. Same thing happened with this girl. She told them, hello, I need to move. This guy's insisting I have to leave. He refuses to leave me in his house while he's going out of town. And there was a lot of drama going on. It wasn't a good situation. He was being an asshole, and quite frankly, she had been doing some fucked off shit too, so it was a mess either way. And the halfway house, basically it turned into a game of chicken between this asshole and the halfway house, because the halfway house said, well, you've got more than a year left on your sentence, so if he brings you here, we're going to just send you to the local holding facility because we can't have you here because you've got more than a year. Okay. So, at this point, luckily for her, probation had already gone to the new requested location. They'd already toured the house. It had just been a couple weeks. They were just sitting there with their thumbs up their asses and not approving it yet. Because after you've been through the house, what do you need further to approve it? You don't. Okay? They're just taking their fucking time. All right. So finally, you know, the halfway house realizes that this guy isn't fucking kidding. She's called her lawyers. I've called, like, the advocates and people that I know. I'm like, yo, this girl's, like, in a straight-up domestic violence type situation. Like, you know, some conjugal, like, toxic drama going on here. Like, this is not good. Like, you gotta get her out of here. Everybody called and finally got probation to, like, move their ass a little bit. And finally they approved it. And she was able to go. But, I mean, we were, like, down to the wires there. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we have to deal with. And it's all just petty nonsense. You know, I mean, there's no, like, efficient, sensible, rational decision-making going on here. It's just a giant game of pass the buck, you know, and nobody cares. Absolutely no one cares. You know, nobody thinks it's a problem or anything. And again, I can't stress this enough. It is wholly irrelevant to any caseworker, any BOP staff member, anyone who is incarceration staff. It is completely irrelevant to them whether you spend the rest of your time locked up in your house, locked up in the SHU, locked up in a prison facility, okay? It is totally irrelevant to them. They'll just put you wherever they do to make convenient paperwork for them. You are a piece of paperwork. That's it. That's all. Nothing more, okay? There's this huge legend in federal prison circles that they absolutely have to put you within 500 miles of your home, and they absolutely have to house you in the lowest security setting possible, and that they can't put you in SHU for that long. No. Okay, let me absolve you of all of these delusions right now. They can put you wherever the fuck they want, and they will. They will. Okay? Because all of those things, you know, that Congress passes that says, like, you know, inmates shall be housed within 500 miles, also come with a little, unless, you know, needs of facilities, extraordinary circumstances. And let me tell you, the BOP finds extraordinary circumstances about everything except for when you're asking for compassionate release and they don't recognize COVID as an extraordinarily and compelling circumstance. But just like, you know, population needs, that's extraordinary in their book, okay? You are nothing. They will do whatever they want with you. Yes, they are supposed to house you in the lowest security setting possible. You know what? They can just pull a head count out of their ass. They can house you wherever they want. And they will. And they will. And they will. That's how it is. Right now, I know people that are in the transfer center. And they're let out for half an hour a day, during which they can choose to take a shower or make a phone call or send an email, along with everybody else on their floor. We're talking, what is it, like, I want to say something like a max capacity of 120 people on a floor there, something like that. It's probably not that many, actually, there at once. It's probably somewhere between, like, 60 and 80, I would guess. So, yeah. A lot of people aren't getting calls from their loved ones and family members right now. I'm not getting a phone call from my family member right now. He's going to hear the business end of a stick when I do get to talk to him. It's been 3 freaking weeks now that he's been there and he hasn't called. He could skip a shower one day. But it's alright. That's how it is. So these are the problems that I've been dealing with. Petty ass bullshit that people put up with every day that I've been trying to help them with. To find forms, to find grievance forms, to know who to talk to find which advocate to go to get things solved. And I hate the kind of situations that I've just talked to you about, because those are situations that I can't do fuck all about. Nobody can. We can advocate. I can put you in touch with lawyers. I can put you in touch with policy people. I can put you in touch with people who'll teach you how to write this, that, and the other kind of letter. I can lobby to politicians for you. I can do that. It's very unlikely to change anything. I hate feeling powerless and like I can't help people. Like today, the day that, the thing that made me decide that was enough internet for today, I read this article here. And the headline, let me tell you, it says, dozens who died in Texas prisons during the pandemic had been granted parole, new report shows. At any given time, thousands of Texas prisoners have been approved for parole, but not yet released. At least 42 of those people died in the 12 months after the coronavirus first swept the state. That's like 3.5 dozen people who shouldn't be dead right now. No one gives a fuck. And this, my friends, is why this is why I harp on the don't be stupid. Be where you're supposed to be when you are supposed to be there. Call whoever you are supposed to call when you are supposed to call. Do what you are supposed to do when you are supposed to do it. Don't fucking smoke weed. Don't do this idiot move either where you think that you're gonna like smoke meth or something and then drink 3 tablespoons of baking soda and a glass of water. You know what that does? It makes you shit your guts out like you've got like fucking E. coli or something, okay? Just put the fucking meth down for a minute, okay? Because eventually you're gonna get caught and have the shits. Is it really worth it? You want to get sober? You want to, like, stay out of prison? Like, they're the same thing. Okay? I was talking to somebody and I was saying, you gotta quit hanging out with drug dealers and stuff. You're gonna get caught up in their bullshit and you're gonna end up going back to prison for it. Oh, but they're my friends. Man, fuck your friends. You've got freedom. Seriously, I have freedom. If my friends are going to stand in the way with that, fuck them. I don't need them. You shouldn't need them either. Fine, I get it. You miss them. You love them. You know, they're humans too. I know that. I'm an addict, okay? I don't have, you know, a lack of compassion. Talk to them on the phone. Don't be socializing. Don't be inviting them over to your house to, like, smoke weed. What is wrong with you? I mean, if your friends and smoking dope are more important than your freedom, okay. I understand that. For some people, they might be. I think that's a strange choice, personally. But for you, it might be more important. That's for you to think about. And if it's more important to you, okay. But don't get all offended when I point out that clearly it's more important to you. Okay? Because you're going to fucking go back to prison. If you want to stay out of prison, don't do drugs. People who want to stay out of prison, don't do drugs. It really is that fucking simple. If you've got a problem, you want to stop, and you're actually willing to listen, call me up. I will hook you up. Right down there, hit me up. WendyTheConcierge@gmail.com. My Ko-fi's down there too. Hook me up. I hope you have a nice day. Thanks for listening. And as always, I never ever withhold information for people for lack of money. Okay? Just write me. Stay safe. Stay sober. Stay the fuck out of prison. See you soon.